那接下来我就要给大家看呢，首先要给大家看第一个实验，这个实验呢是在2007年发表在 Nature 上一篇研究，这个研究呢证实了人之初性本善，这个从小这个婴儿呢就有所谓的这个道德喜欢好的东西这样的一个概念。来看这个影片。
There's a domain of developmental psychology called theory of mind, which involves basically asking how do we develop an understanding of other minds? How do we come to understand other people's thoughts, their relationship between their thoughts and their behaviors?
You both want to do different things. What can you do?
How we reason about other minds in the world. We began addressing some of these questions with infants.
In this study, parents bring their 6-month-olds into the lab. At the other side of a long table is a hill stave. A red circle guy with googly eyes tries to climb the hill. He sort of goes up the hill and then falls back down. He always fails at it. And a blue square character, also with googly eyes, comes from the bottom of the hill and bumps him up to the top of the hill so that he's successful. On different trials, the climber tries again to get to the top of the hill, and then a yellow triangle character comes down from the top and bumps him to the bottom of the hill, so prevents him from getting his goal. Babies see this a number of times until they get nice and bored with it, so we stop and basically do a choice measure. Moms are asked to close their eyes. An experimenter who did not see which character was which brings over the two characters to the babies and just sees which character the baby touches first.
Which one do you want?
We found that, impressively actually, almost 100% of babies preferred the more positive character.
What do you want?
Okay.
They seem to have attraction to helpful, pro-social individuals, and also a real aversion to antisocial, unhelpful individuals. Babies are fascinated by the social world.
Hey, buddy.
Young babies are all about entering the social world, making connections with different social individuals, looking at the interconnections between different social individuals and figuring out what that means. So I think these studies very nicely show how babies are evaluating individuals out in the world and how babies themselves are developing attitudes towards different individuals.
好，这个实验呢是非常有名的实验，我们后面还会有另外一个继续的续集的说明。但是呢，我们先来看一下，这个是大家都知道，是孟子啊说这个人之初性本善嘛。但是呢，荀子呢，大家都知道这个古代的这个另外一个学说呢叫荀子，他就认为说是性本恶。那到底呢，在演化的过程之中呢，人到底是性善还是性恶这件事情呢？如果你去看这个 predation， 就是所谓的掠食行为，其实你在更早以前6亿年前的这些化石当中呢，就可以看到一些虫上面呢是有一些破洞的，就表示呢它有这个 predation。这个世界是充满了所谓的这个捕食啊，或者是猎食这种行为。那这个猎食行为呢，你可以想象呢，如果是涉及到这个捕食的过程中呢，会有所谓的这个痛苦。然后呢，它会流血，然后又死亡。那你吃下去之后，如果你是捕食者呢，你会有愉快的感觉。那就像我们之前讲的这个多巴胺神经元，它会产生 reward system。那这样呢，就形成了一个就所谓的掠食的这样的一个回路。那这个回路呢，就会让你不断的去做这件事情，然后你会觉得说呢，这个痛苦、血、死亡这种情绪的结构呢，会去更加的激发你去做这些所谓的这些侵略的行为啊，或者是一些控制的行为、掠食的行为。那这些呢，其实你反映在这个人身上呢，其实也是如此。因为我们人当然现在已经到社会化到一种程度，我们就不会做这种事情。可是呢，你可以去看一些在很多的这个社会的这个新闻里面呢，有很多这种虐待儿童的行为啊，或是呢，你看到有人在街头被人家毒打啊，但你觉得也不会伸出援手。像这些呢比较冷酷的行为呢，其实都在展现人类的内心呢，可能还是有一种比较属于这种就是比较。不是本质不是那么善良的这种性质呢，在很多的那种表征或者在社会化的过程之中呢，其实是被掩藏起来的。那有一部电影呢，有一部书呢，叫做《电醒世界的人》，就是《Man Who Shot the World》。在这个书里面呢，就是说他借由一些实验呢，去引导一些人呢，去做出一些要伤害他人。但是在这个实验者的引导之下呢， 即便是一个正常的人呢，也会对一个无辜人呢去做出一些所谓的这个惩罚。那最有名的呢，就是这个路西法效应。我想很多人可能看过这本书。这本书呢是在1971年的一位斯坦福大学的教授呢，他做了本来要做一个2周的实验。这个实验呢，就是找了一群大学生，把它硬分成2组，一组呢叫做 guard， 就是守卫，另外一种就是这个 criminal， 就是犯人。然后把它分成2组，然后跟他讲说，你现在扮演守卫，你就扮演好守卫的这个角色；如果你扮演犯人的话，你就扮演犯人的角色。然后在这个实验者的引导之下呢，大家都非常积极的扮演角色。到了实验的第6天呢，这时候呢情况已经开始失控了，就是大家都是大学生，而且平常是朋友，可是呢，一旦他被指定为所谓的守卫的角色呢，他就会去虐待这些犯人，是他的同学。所以这些实验呢，到后来呢，就不得不呢，在第6天或第7天的时候终止，无法进行下去。所以从这些实验里面呢，其实告诉我们说，我们人性当中呢，还是有那些所谓的这个比较残酷或残暴的那一面，只是在这个社会化的过程之中呢，不容易被显现出来。那接下来呢，我们要继续看刚才这个在耶鲁大学的 Baby Lab 呢，他们在2007年那篇实验之后呢，证实至少从实验上面呢间接推论说人性本善，因为呢我们小孩子看到一个实验的时候呢，会对于这个帮助他人的人呢会比较喜欢，对于把人家推下去的那个人呢，那个形状呢会比较不喜欢。那后续的实验呢就证实说呢，其实呢在这里面呢跟实验设计有很大的关系。那我们继续看下去。
It's a question people have asked for as long as there have been people. Are human beings inherently good? Are we born with a sense of morality? Or do we arrive blank slates, waiting for the world to teach us right from wrong? Or could it be worse? Do we start out nasty, selfish devils who need our parents, teachers, and religions to whip us into shape? The only way to know for sure, of course, is to ask a baby. But until recently, it's been hard to persuade them to open up and share their secrets. Enter the Baby Lab. This is the creature at the center of the greatest philosophical, moral, and religious debates about the nature of man, the human baby. They don't do much, can't talk, can't write, can't expound at length about their moral philosophies. But does that mean they don't have one? The philosopher Rousseau considered babies perfect idiots knowing nothing. And Yale psychologist Karen Wynn, director of the Infant Cognition Center here, the Baby Lab, says for most of its history, her field agreed. Didn't we just think that these creatures at 3 months and even 6 months were basically just little blobs?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you look at them, they kind of look like cute little blobs, but they can't do all the things that an older child can. They can't even do the things that a dog or a pigeon or a rat can.
No pulling levers for treats or running mazes for these study subjects, but they can watch puppet shows.
Up goes the curtain.
And Wynn is part of a new wave of researchers who have discovered seemingly simple ways to probe what's really going on in those adorable little heads.
Up goes the curtain.
We watched as Wynn and her team asked a question that 20 years ago might have gotten her laughed out of her field. Does Wesley here, at the ripe old age of 5 months, know the difference between right and wrong? Wesley watches as the puppet in the center struggles to open up a box with a toy inside. The puppy in the yellow shirt comes over and lends a hand. Then the scene repeats itself, but this time the puppy in the blue shirt comes and slams the box shut. Nice behavior? Mean behavior. At least to our eyes. But is that how a 5-month-old sees it? And does he have a preference?
Actually, do you remember these guys from the show?
To find out, a researcher who doesn't know which puppet was nice and which was mean offers Wesley a choice.
Who do you like?
He can't answer, but he can reach.
That one.
Wesley chose the good guy, and he wasn't alone.
That one.
More than 3/4 of the babies tested reached for the nice puppet.
That one.
Wynn tried it out on even younger babies, 3-month-olds, who can't control their arms enough to reach, but they can vote with their eyes, since research has shown that even very young babies look longer at things they like.
Which one do you like?
Daisy here looked at the mean puppet for 5 seconds, then switched to the nice one for 33.
Babies, even at 3 months, looked towards the nice character and looked hardly at all, much shorter times towards the unhelpful character.
So basically, as young as 3 months old, we human beings show a preference for nice people over mean people.
Study after study after study, the results are always consistently babies feeling positively towards helpful individuals in the world and disapproving, disliking, maybe condemning individuals who are antisocial towards others.
It's astonishing. Wynne and her team first published their findings about baby morality in the journal Nature in 2007. And they've continued to publish follow-up studies in other peer-reviewed journals ever since. For instance, on this experiment, they showed babies like James here, a puppet behaving badly. Instead of rolling the ball back to the puppet in the middle, this green-shirted bunny keeps the other puppet's ball and runs away. Then James is shown a second show. This time, the bunny, who we just saw steal the ball, tries to open up the box to get the toy. Will James still prefer the puppet who helps out, or will he now prefer the one who slams the box shut?
Who do you like?
He chose the one who slammed it shut, as did 81% of babies tested. The study's conclusion, babies seem to view the ball thief as deserving punishment.
So do you think that babies therefore are born with an innate sense of justice?
And very elemental level, I think so.
We think we see here the foundations for morality.
Paul Bloom is also a professor of psychology at Yale with his own lab. He's collaborated with Wynne on many of her baby studies, and he also happens to be her husband.
I feel when making discoveries, I feel like what a discovery meant, what seems to be one way, really isn't. What seems to be an ignorant and unknowing baby is actually a creature with this alarming sophistication, subtle knowledge.
And he says discovering this in babies who can't walk, talk, or even crawl yet suggests it has to come built in.
So remember Bea Skinner, who said that we have to teach our children everything through conditioning. So does this just come on from that?
And what we're finding in the baby lab is that there's more to it than that. That there's a universal moral core that all humans share. The seeds of our understanding of justice, our understanding of right and wrong, are part of our biological nature.
Wait a minute. If babies are born with a basic sense of right and wrong, a universal moral core, where does all the evil in the world come from? Is that all learned? Well, maybe not. Take a look at this new series of discoveries in the Yale Baby Lab.
Would you like a snack?
In offering babies the seemingly small, innocuous choice, graham crackers or Cheerios, Wynne is probing something big, the origins of bias, the tendency to prefer others who are similar to ourselves.
Adults will like others who share even really absolutely trivial similarities with them.
So will Nate, who chose Cheerios over graham crackers,
Hi.
prefer this orange cat, who also likes Cheerios, over this gray cat, who likes graham crackers instead?
Which one do you like?
Apparently so.
Remember these guys?
But if babies have positive feelings for the similar puppet, do they actually have negative feelings for the one who's different? To find out, Wynne showed babies the gray cat, the one who liked the opposite food, struggling to open up the box to get a toy. Will Gregory want to see the graham cracker eater treated well? Or does he want him treated badly?
Which one do you like? That one. Okay.
Gregory seemed to want the different puppet treated badly.
That is amazing. So he went with his bias in a way.
And so did Nate.
That one?
And 87% of the other babies tested. From this, Wynne concludes that infants prefer those who harm others who are unlike them.
What could be more arbitrary than whether you like graham crackers or Cheerios?
Nothing.
Nothing. But it matters. It matters to the young baby. we're predisposed to break the world up into different human groups based on the most subtle and seemingly irrelevant cues. And that, to some extent, is the dark side of morality.
We want the other to be punished.
In our studies, babies seem as if they do want the other to be punished.
We used to think that we're taught to hate. I think there was a song like that. This is suggesting that we're not taught to hate. We're born to hate.
I think that we are built to at the drop of a hat, create us and them.
And that's why we're not that moral. We have an initial moral sense that is in some ways very impressive, and in some ways really depressing. That we see some of the worst biases in adults reflected in the minds and in the behaviors of young babies.
But Bloom says understanding our earliest instincts can help.
If you want to eradicate racism, for instance, you really are going to want to know to what extent are babies little bigots? To what extent is racism a natural part of humanity?
Sounds to me like the experiments show they are little bigots.
I think to some extent, a bias to favor the self, where the self could be people who look like me, people who act like me, people with the same case, is a very strong human bias. It is what one would expect from a creature like us who evolved from natural selection, but it has terrible consequences.
He says it makes sense that evolution would predispose us to be wary of the other for survival. And so we need society and parental nurturing to intervene.
这个影片呢给我很高的深思啊，就是说这个Yale 的这个 Baby Lab， 他们做了一系列实验，这实验呢去探索到底我们人类呢有没有所谓的这个 inherent 天生的这个 morality。